Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema. Cinema or sofa? Big stream or big screen? Where will you spend your hard-earned money? We are here to help you figure that out.
Let's get ready to rumble!
My name is Tosin and I am the host. I am based up in the middle of the UK in a place called Bromsgrove. Joining me today is just one person, and that is our London correspondent, Holly Nessling.
Hello.
Yes. So it's just Holly today because I think Sharon is recovering because if you've been following us for the last couple of weeks, you've been hearing the saga of Muffin. Muffin, the tiny little sausage dog, who has been on the run for best part of 2 months and finally is back home. But yes, he's back home, but he is a skinny little thing, and so Sharon is looking after him and stuff like that. And Sean should be on his way back from the southern tip of Africa. So
we hope.
Yeah, from being on safari and stuff like that. Which means that it is just myself and Holly here today. So on this show, what we do is we go to the cinema and we watch a couple of things. We rate them out of 5. Or we watch whatever is allowed, whatever is available. We watch, and then we watch an equal number of things at home. We rate them out of 5. We put them up against each other and we see where money has been better spent this week. So with that being said, I kind of know the answer to this question already, and even if you hadn't already told me, I would know the answer to this question because it's the only thing around in cinemas at the moment. Or rather, there's only 2 things around in cinemas at the moment. What have you seen in cinemas this week, Holly?
I have seen the Odyssey and Spiderman. Extraordinary. You were not expecting either of those. Out of
Be
the
still, my beating heart! Yes! Yes, I know. I mean, what? You mean, oh, wow, you mean the only 2 films that are in the cinema everywhere around the country right now? The only 2 films the only 2 films that would dare go up against each other because everybody else is running scared with good reason, I must say. Because, I mean, at my local cinema, the Omniplex in Great Park in Birmingham, it was actually quite weird because you had the Odyssey, and before Spider-Man Brand New Day came along, the Odyssey had, I counted, 11 screenings per day. So there were 11 screenings per day of the Odyssey going on there, and then Spider-Man Brand New Day has come in there and has taken up a couple of, but I think they're essentially sharing the 2 big screens, which I think I've mentioned this before, how I feel like Omniplex are being very clever about it. They say that, come watch it on our max screens, and that's max, all in capitals with 2 X's. Very crucially, not IMAX screens.
Ah, cunning.
Yes, cunning. But it hasn't stopped people from not thinking, oh yeah, I want to go see it in the IMAX. I'm going to go to Great Park. And I'm like, you do realize they're not IMAX scenes, right? But it says the IMAX. I'm like, they are not IMAX screens.
Read carefully. Well,
Yes.
we had a bit of a drama with our cinema viewing because I had accidentally, due to basic incompetence on my part, booked us tickets for Saturday using our Odeon Limitless passes rather than Sunday. We're going to go to the nice comfy cinema in Putney. Alas, when I went to rebook, the Odyssey was...
It all gone.
There were still seats for Spider-Man, not many, and I just managed to get us into both the Odyssey and Spider-Man in Richmond. But yeah, there is a moral in this story, which is pay attention. I do not always.
Yeah, and don't show up. And do not show up to either of these films thinking you can just get a seat. Essentially.
No, you won't.
Because I mean, it's a bit like, you know how obviously we've been having all this warm weather in the UK and it hasn't rained for, I mean, it rained I think yesterday or the day before, and that was the first time it rained in about a month. And for the UK, this is weird. But you start getting to the stage where you just started leaving the house without an umbrella, without even checking the weather forecast, just expect it to be sunny. And I think a similar thing had started happening with cinemas, where I just started showing up expecting that, of course I can just book a ticket when I'm sure it will be fine. I can book a ticket 10 minutes before. I'm usually the only person in there. And the Odyssey and Spider-Man Brand New Day are beginning to make me think that cinema might be roaring back.
Mhm.
Cinema be like they might have finally cracked how to make it attractive and make it like, for a wide group of people to come back in. Okay, cool. So at some point in this, we will find out what you thought about the Odyssey. So remind me if I forget. But we will kick off with Spider-Man Brand New Day. But before we do that, what have we seen at home?
I have seen. I am not entirely sure what I've seen. I'm trying to see if I can track it down. Um, it
All
was
right.
not.
While you're tracking it down, shall I say what I've seen?
Oh yes, I saw. I saw Primate. We've already seen Primate. Goodness.
We have already reviewed Primate. Yeah. We have. I think Sean was not too impressed. He was somewhere in the low three bar in on Primate.
I would be
What
happy to
did you
provide
agree?
a succinct commentary to it. I think he was probably being kind there. We felt very sad for Ben the chimpanzee. In fact, most of this was transatlantic film watching with my friend Jen in the Caymans, and we spent quite.
So Primate qualified as a bad film
It
for
did
like
qualify as
a bad enough
film.
looking film for you guys to. Yeah. Okay.
And rightly so, because we had quite a lot of poor Ben, he doesn't understand and will continue to get his friends. I wonder if anyone's had their rabies jabs. Fire. They're totally using the fire. You have to shoot them in the head, guys. It was pretty profound stuff. That was,
Well,
and then we got to the end. That was abysmal, but not in a good way. Zero.
well, you
take.
see now, I haven't seen Primate, but when Sean was giving us the lowdown of Primate, I was thinking, hang on a second, this doesn't sound like the ape's fault.
No,
I mean, it's like
no, very
like
much
like the
not as far.
it's like I was like listening, going, this actually sounds a lot more like the human's fault for putting the ape in
Yeah,
that situation. And
yeah,
but you're gonna try and make a film to try and make it sound like the ape is at fault for something stupid humans did.
yeah.
And it's like,
And the humans were stupid, and humans dying just fine. I can't even remember which ones made it to the end. I mean, I
well,
just did.
well, well, based purely on I cannot remember the synopsis of it, but based on the synopsis I heard, I was kind of like, this is the kind of film where I'm going to be rooting for the ape
Yeah,
because he didn't do anything wrong as far as I'm concerned.
it was
So
like Jaws 3.
so
We were rooting for the sharks in Jaws 3.
it was like the film Pompeii with Kit Harington and Kiefer Sutherland. I was rooting for the volcano.
Oh, I've not seen it. I suspect I
You
will be
haven't?
rooting. No, but I will
Oh,
be rooting for the
oh,
volcano.
okay. In that case, Holly, I implore you. Let me present this to you and Jen in the Caymans. Let me present this to you, Pompeii, as one of your bad film watching nights,
Excellent.
because I saw this film once in the cinema, probably about 10, between 10 and 13 years ago, and I have not forgotten how bad it was. I have not. I still, and it is one of these things, right, where Sean doesn't think it's a running joke within Sean, Sharon, and I, where Sean doesn't think it's that bad, and I'm like, Sean, you are the person who's all about things being realistic and everything like that, and you like Pompeii. He's like, yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. I'm like, no, no, everybody has a blind spot, and Sean's blind spot is Pompeii. But
Now,
find Pompeii with
I have two very important questions for you. One, did you study Latin at school in the classic
no,
pre-GCSE texts? In which case,
nope,
the question
no.
of what were Caecilius and Quintus in it? Because they are fundamental characters to the classic Latin books. And you have Caecilius est in horto and Quintus
Uh,
est in horto.
Okay, now let me. A, I cannot remember anybody's names, but B, I'm pretty sure that this takes the approach. It takes the approach, the Titanic approach of there's this big historical disaster thing that happened, but we're going to tell you a story around it with this blah 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 blah, and it takes the Titanic approach to the level that I'm watching it going. They are taking the Titanic approach. They're trying to do a Titanic. They're trying to make the music swell here to make me care about people who are being stupid. And, and so it's like, yeah, watch Pompeii. watch
I,
Pompeii, and
I,
then you can tell
I
me
will
about. But
put
yeah,
it on the list. Let me push it in my watch list and hope it doesn't
yeah.
do nonsense with my connection, which it might.
No, and so no. Honestly, I think for me the what was I gonna say? The yeah, there wasn't much need for Latin in Nigeria. So
Um,
so even though we did get quite into, I was actually talking about this with a friends with the Odyssey and everything like that, how we got quite into Greek mythology and Roman mythology and everything like that. Because for us, we were into comic books, and this was like a whole other branch of comic book storytelling when we came to
right.
those. All right, cool. So in that case, for home, I have a list of things. I have 21st century 21st century modern, DTF St. Louis, The Better Sister, The Boys season 5, which I think Sean reviewed, and The Four Seasons season 2. So, The Four Seasons, you've watched that, haven't you?
No.
Okay, you'd like it. I could recommend The Four Seasons as something that you'd like. And The Better Sister is some sub Harlan Coben rubbish
I think
on
I've
Prime
seen
Video
that. Let me
with Jessica Biel and Elizabeth Banks. And oh my word, it is I was annoyed. I was so annoyed
No,
how
I haven't
how long
seen
it
it.
was.
That looks
Okay,
terrible. And I think it is based on a book, isn't it?
it is based on a book. It is based on a book. And
No, it isn't.
I think the book has to have been better or written better because anyway. Okay, but I'll tell you what I'll bring. I will bring you 21st Century Modern on Disney Plus because I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting but weird. All right, cool. So let us kick off. And let us kick off in cinema. And let's kick off with Spider-Man: Brand New Day. So this is in the Marvel universe, and I think that's the main thing you need to know. Is in the MCU. I mean, if I can't, I know it's the fourth Spider-Man movie that's set within the MCU. I've lost track of what number Marvel movie it is, but I know it's pushing. It's north of 35. I think they've
Yeah.
made north of 35 films. So, and it is the big thing that they're making before they bring out Avengers Doomsday later this year in December. And Avengers Doomsday,
Pause. 1 second.
I mean,
Before they bring out the reboot of Avengers Endgame and then Doomsday.
well, that does not count. That is a cynical money grab. That is a cynical, but because they're gonna be like, they're like, yeah, Avengers Endgame. Why? Avengers Endgame is not a direct thing that's going to lead into Doomsday, and if it is, that is just them. That is just them admitting that pretty much everything that they've done since Avengers Endgame has been a misstep. Because yeah,
Still watching it.
but okay, what?
I'm still watching it.
Um, I don't think I'm gonna watch the re. I don't think I'm gonna watch the re-release of Endgame. I'll watch Doomsday. I'm not gonna watch the release of Endgame, but I mean, you're about to get me started on my rant about the multiverse and how much I hate the multiverse because it only just leads to bad storytelling. And the last 5 years of Marvel have kind of backed me up because multiverse is rubbish and they need to finish it off in Doomsday, knock it on the head, and then start something else. Because yeah, anyway. But anyway, Spider-Man Brand New Day. So at the end of the last Spider-Man movie, it may be a spoiler, but it's a necessary spoiler to understand this film, which is that Spider-Man asked Doctor Strange to erase everybody's memory of the fact that he existed. So Doctor Strange does that, but now what that means is that when you start Spider-Man Brand New Day, you start it in a place where nobody knows who Peter Parker is. Like, and he's all alone in New York because he's trying to keep those people who did know safe. So MJ, played by Zendaya, doesn't know who he is. Ned, played by Jacob Batalon, doesn't know who he is. And he is in a very, very lonely place where he's just essentially throwing himself into work as Spider-Man. The same way, like, I think you had Robert Downey Jr. when he was Iron Man in Iron Man 3. There was this whole thing about him being a workaholic and just creating more and more Iron Man suits. Very similar thing with Spider-Man, where he's just throwing himself in. He's become a hero in New York because 4 years have passed since the last time we saw him. Like he's just sitting down in his in his tiny little in his apartment, hiding away somewhere, avoiding all human interaction because it's kind of intimated because he doesn't really want people to know. He doesn't really want people to know. He doesn't want to get close to anybody because if he gets close to them, they might probably get hurt because he's Spider-Man. So that's what you meet. You meet him then. The police love him. People love him. People are like, "Oh yeah, Spidey, we love you." He's a New York hero. Then one day, there's this big tank that's driving through, and he sort of tries to stop it, but then he seems to come up against this person who can jump into different people. There's some really cool scenes actually where whoever this person is having a conversation with him, but it's having a conversation with him by jumping from one person to another. So this conversation is happening by about five different actors saying a line each while all walking around Peter Parker, and I thought that was pretty cool. Now, that is the synopsis of the film. And then after that, it is blah, blah, blah. Who is this person who's jumping back and forth between different people? Who can we trust? Who can we not trust? Who's going to help him? Who's not going to help him? The Punishers in the film, the Hulks in the film, all that kind of stuff. And it's all about whether they can execute a caper, a good caper. This is one of those ones where it's all about the execution. Because story-wise, you kind of know what you're going to get. And I have to say that I thought I loved this. I absolutely loved this. I was just kind of like, oh, good Lord. But like Spider-Man he's in the right place. And he's in the hands of people who love him, who understand the character,
Yes.
and who nail the character. Because I feel like I remember talking to my friends who used to read comics book when I was a kid and everything, and I'm like, we have a term in Nigeria which is sufferhead. And it literally means somebody who nothing ever goes right for them. Like sufferhead, all they do in life is just suffer. And Spider-Man was the original sufferhead superhero. Everything he did was just suffer. Nothing good ever happened for Peter Parker. It was always kind of like save the world, lose a girlfriend because I was late for dinner. That for me just sort of encapsulates the whole. And I think this film, more than any other Tom Holland one, encapsulates that to a T. Because he doesn't have the Avengers around. He doesn't have Iron Man. He doesn't have all this like fancy, expensive kit. He has kit, but it's stuff that he's making himself in his room. And I just thought this film worked on almost every single level. Holly, what did you think?
Well, yeah, no, he was very much dealing with small potato stuff. It's just got to be said.
That's I love it. Good reference for anybody who's watched the film.
Life is now assessed on the basis of potato sizes, I'm afraid. That's just how it rolls now.
Yeah, and there are some fun cameos. There are some really, really fun cameos in this film.
Superb cameos. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was just... It dealt with the multiverse better than it might have done as well, which is why I loved it.
Yeah, it dealt with it by not even acknowledging it.
Exactly. Which is what was joyous.
Yeah.
So good. It was so good. I want to watch it again.
I'd have to admit, it was the film was really, really good. I mean, I feel like everybody's on their game. Mark Ruffalo is always a joy as the Hulk. Yes, Trammell Tillman as the head of damage control. Metzger, he's good. There's a large bit of there's one particular actor who's in the film, and there's been a massive bit of speculation about who that person is playing in the film, and I mean, the thing with all the Marvel stuff is that there's always so much speculation that some of it is going to be correct, and also if you've read the comic books, it's kind of like it's not that much of a leap to figure out who's who and what's what and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I'll brush that over. Yeah, you need to what?
You need to WhatsApp me the details.
WhatsApp you the details about the speculation because you've seen the film already.
Yes.
So yeah, but it's all I can say is that it is done brilliantly in this film. I mean, there are some bits where they obviously, I think, because Spider-Man, right? The story of Spider-Man in film at the moment is it's like almost like a legal study of who owns the rights to what characters and why do you see a Sony logo at the beginning of this film, and who actually has the rights to make Hulk films and who has the right to make Spider. And so there are some bits where you can see that these are contractual obligations, like because of the Marvel movies. Whenever they have Spider-Man in a film, there's actually something written in there that Spider-Man has to team up with some other Marvel character, like a Marvel. Yeah, I know, Holly. This is stuff you don't know behind the scenes. Where that's why in every if you think about it, every single MCU Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man has always first one he was with Iron Man, second one he teamed up with Nick Fury. Third one, Doctor Strange. This one, the Punisher and the Hulk show up. So it's like in every single Spider-Man movie, and so you there's some bits where you can feel them doing that. There's this whole bit about his spider powders evolving, which I remember the Spider-Man the animated series. They had a whole storyline on that went to some really kind of like body horror places. And in this, they kind of raise it and then seem to forget about it. and
Yeah.
and so there's things where you feel as if they're putting crumbs down for stuff that's going to happen later, which is a Marvel thing because it's like this never-ending thing, and this film's not just a film because what happens in this film is going to go into like 5 other films and all that sort of stuff. But I felt like this was one of the best ways in which that they have brought it all together recently, in which arguably there are story reasons for this particular character then, but I love the fact that also that they put them down as crumbs but not as massive signposts going, ooh, come back in Avengers Doomsday to see what happens next. They don't do that. I mean, there is an end of credit sting, but I feel like the end of credit sting doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But I think that's about the only place where they kind of go do a ooh, come back and see what's happening next. But I feel like mostly speaking they did it. So all in all, I thought it was great. I thought Tom Holland is brilliant as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I thought it has some of the best action scenes. The one with the hand. There's a action scene between Spider-Man and the hand, and that is excellent. It is like I was telling my friend, it is one of the best action scenes I've seen in the last 5 years. It is it's way up high in my best action scenes in the whole all of the MCU. It is and I feel that you could tell that the guy who directed this also directed Shang-Chi because there were some bits where I'm like I can see similar things going on in here. But that whole street level Spider-Man, it is, yeah. Yeah, and it's like, and when you talk about like street level everything, all that, that's everybody's great. It's a great film. Go watch it. And this is one of those films where I do not begrudge the fact that it made almost $1 billion in one weekend. I do not begrudge that at all. I'm like, take the money. You've earned it. Anyway, sorry, I've talked for a long time. Holly, anything else to add?
I think Zendaya knocked it out of the park. I thought she was really good. I mean, she's always really good, but I thought she really made it work.
Yeah, I'm almost tearing up thinking of some of those scenes now with her, Tom Holland and Ned. Oh my God, I'm just like, some of those scenes are actually hot. They are heart-rending.
It was so well structured. It was a really beautiful film. It was an incredibly watchable film. I was properly engrossed in it. It was even in Odeon seats, in Odeon cheap seats. It was in though we did move seats actually. We moved back into slightly more comfortable seats, but it wasn't. It was fine. Not the Odeon Lux seats we had been planning. It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
And I would really want to watch it again, and it does feel like a really good build-up to Doomsday. And as I say, I will watch the Endgame reboot because, of course, I will, and I have Odeon Limitless, so yeah, it's not like it's costing me money. If it were costing me money, it might be a slightly different conversation, but we are primed and ready to book the minute tickets are out for Doomsday.
It is not. I mean, the Endgame re-release is not costing you anything but almost 4 hours of your life. That's
I'm good with that. That is 4 hours of my life I am willing to donate to making sure that I have every single completely unnecessary detail that is possibly available to me. Because that's, it's just what I do.
Cool. Also trying to do our homework. I'm hearing Sharon right now, even though she's not here. I'm hearing Sharon asking, how much more of the Marvel Universe do I have to have watched before I watch this film? Do I have to have watched like the TV shows or anything like that? And I would say no. I think this film is actually pretty standalone.
Yeah, this I think definitely works standalone. Ideally, the previous Spider-Man films, but you can actually work it without.
Yeah, I think you just I don't even think you need to watch the last Spider-Man movie. All you need to know is you just need to know that there's this spell that has been done and nobody knows that Peter Parker exists.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's about that's about all you really need to know.
yeah. No, I think
And
that's what it
the
knows actually.
yeah,
And it's not
and
like Doomsday, which we need to be ready for because apparently we need to be up to date on Loki.
yes, yes. I mean, the truth is, like, after watching Loki season 2, I was like, yeah, they've made this thing a bit central to this whole multiverse nonsense.
I can't remember if I've seen season 2 or not, which is a terrible, terrible admission. But
It's the one with Ki Hugh Kwan in it. Okay, that tells me I don't think you have. I don't think
it,
you might have.
it
You have seen
shouldn't
that.
tell you anything. It just tells you that I have an appalling memory, so it could go either which way.
All right, cool. So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that for us, if we're going to ask ourselves, should we watch it at cinema or watch it at home?
Cinema!
I'm like, run to the cinema. The quicker the better, because the
Immediately.
film has
Beat
been
down the
out. The film
doors.
has been out a week. It was released a week today as we record, and essentially there's just like spoilers everywhere. There's spoilers
Oh,
everywhere. So like there's articles about this and about that and what does this mean for the blah blah blah. So just run to the cinema as quickly as possible and see it so that nobody spoils it for you. Because I mean, even though there was things that I expected to happen that did happen in the film, I was still really really pleased to not have somebody else tell me that they happened before I saw them.
it's just, yeah, it
Okay.
was. You know what's coming, but you also don't know what's coming, but you also just have to see it because it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So how
that's it.
many stars did you give Spider-Man Brand New Day?
5. I contemplated
Okay,
4.75, but no, I'm going 5 because I loved
I'm
everything.
gonna go for
Happy.
I'm gonna go 4.5. I'm gonna go 4.5 because I feel like there's some story bits that they bring up and then they seem to forget about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some story
Yeah.
bits that they bring up and then they seem to just forget that they brought that up or the resolution to them I think is a little bit wait a second, but that's still you just left that dangling. But I also one thing I have to say is I do think that it is quite funny. It's quite funny and quite touching. It's not funny all the way through because it is a bit more important. It is a bit more serious, almost so to say, because you're dealing with themes like loneliness and what does that do to your mental state and all that kind of stuff. Why you need other people, and it's actually embedding these themes into a superhero movie, a bit like the way they did with the Thunderbolts, and so I,
Yes.
I think it's you do have
Yeah.
all those
I did
things in
something new.
there, but I also feel as if that there are things that they just that they forget. But I feel like when it's funny, it's really funny. There's a bit that involves a hospital room that just cracked me right up. It cracked me right up with somebody being in the hospital window. I was just kind of like, this is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious. All right, cool. Anyway, now that is a 4.75 stars for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And now we're going to go over to Disney Plus, and I'm going to talk to you about 21st Century Modern. Now, 21st Century Modern is a weird beast, and I feel like it is one of these shows that a bit like I was talking about Spider-Man. When you watch a Spider-Man movie, you're not just watching the story in the film. You're watching the legal wrangles that are that are happening behind the scenes as to who owns this character. And I feel like 21st Century Modern, you are watching when you're watching it, you're watching people trying to figure out how to make stuff in the streaming age because the old way of doing things, which was like, network TV, is no longer there. Because this, for all intensive purposes, it's a straight down the middle sitcom with the sort of like cliche jokes, with the hackney jokes, with the stereotypes and everything like that. But the problem is that because it's on streaming, they have language in it. So there's F bombs being dropped and everything like that. And it can be a bit more explicit and all. So you're kind of like, okay, so it is kind of like made in the style of like a Friends or something like that. Because the whole idea behind it is that you have these three gay men who are played by Nathan Lane, Matt Bomer, and I keep forgetting his name. He's in a whole bunch of stuff. He was in Hitch. I will Holly, do me a favor, look up his name. The third guy, the black guy in 21st Century Modern, and
Okay.
they meet up at so the three gay men who've been I'm pretty sure his first name is Nathaniel as well. or something like that. But it's so they meet up at a funeral of the who was kind of like the fourth one of their group. The fourth one of the group, he's dead, and then the three of them realize, oh my god, we're getting to that age people are dying. We and one of them, Bunny, played by Nathan Lane, he's the richest, and he has this house in Palm Springs, and he invites them to just come live with him. He's like, why don't you all just come live with me? So the all this becomes like it becomes like a flat share comedy where these three middle-aged gay men are living together in a house in Palm Springs, and then antics ensue. Oh, it's mid-century modern. Sorry, not 21st century
Oh,
modern.
well, that
I
explains
watched it
it.
a while back. Yeah, it's Nathan Lee Graham. Nathan Lee Graham. And so you have the three of them coming, but because it's kind of like, and you know how Holly, did you ever watch Will and Grace?
Yes. I didn't particularly like it.
Yeah. So you know how in Will and Grace they have this whole thing where it's almost as if like it's kind of like we're gonna make hackneyed jokes about gay people, but it's okay because we're gay, therefore we can make them. But it's
Yes.
kind of like, but you're kind of like, I'm not sure that's actually funny, but. And this is full of those. It's full of stereotypes. It's full of like for example, the kind of things like calling a gay guy Nancy, but because it's a gay guy calling another gay guy Nancy or anything like that, or pretend like all these gay men are drama queens and blah blah blah. They all care about their appearance and it leans hard into all these tropes. But because obviously you have three prominent gay actors in it, there's a bit of you that's going, so I guess it's okay. If Nathan Lane is fine with it, if Matt Bohm is fine with it, if Nathan Lee Graham is fine with it, I guess it's okay, but don't really know. And then you have Linda Lavin, she's like an actress whose face you will remember if you don't know her name, and she died while she was making this. Like she just died during the first season, and there's a whole section in it that's dedicated to her death. And she plays the mother of Nathan Lane's character, and essentially it's kind of like
Yes.
it's I'm not sure of the correct term, but I know that the term fag hag has been used in the past, and I know that's one of those things that I think I've heard gay people say, but I am not sure is PC to say. But she's kind of like that, like the older woman who hangs around like a whole bunch of gay people, and she even has she has some of the best lines because she's the most withering in it. Pamela Adlon shows up for a while, and all in all, it is this quite. Oh, it's funny. I just realized the creators of the show were producers on Will and Grace, which explains it.
Yes, it does.
Which explains it. So yeah, it's like, and it's so it all comes together to be what I think is a is a middle of the road sub Friends American multi-camera sitcom with with a live audience. One of those shows that I think showed up a lot. I think that there was one with Whitney. There was a show called Whitney with Whitney Cummings, the comedian. And I remember watching a couple of episodes, and this reminded me it's that kind of level where I don't really think it's that great, but it's watchable and you can have it on in the background while things are going on. So all
Yeah.
in all, I would give mid-century modern, not 21st century modern, mid-century modern. I would give mid-century modern 3 out of 5, and it's really quite a low three because it's kind of something you've seen a lot of times before. The only difference here is that it's about gay men, and but I feel like they drag out a lot of tired old tropes. They drag a lot of tired old jokes. They drag a lot of like, oh yeah, we have a new room. What are we gonna do? Of course, we're gay men. Therefore, we're definitely gonna put a disco ball in it. And it's like I'm like, man, I feel like you had a chance to do something better and you didn't. So
Yeah.
it's so so yeah. For me, it's a 3 out of 5 for mid-century man.
I guess it's kind of been done before.
It has been done before. The only difference is that this is centering the gay characters. Like it's like the gay characters on their own without having like because Will and Grace, you can argue that they put a gay character but he was kind of like they had Grace there to make it acceptable to have a gay character there as a
Yeah.
lead thing. in that. Even Ellen didn't start off with her being expressly a gay character. So
No.
it's like, so this kind of sitcom with that focuses on a gay male experience, I think that's about the only thing different about this. But like the making of the show, the production of the show, everything like that, we've seen it all before.
But that's
The
really
almost
good.
the philosophy. Yeah,
It is really good, though, even though it has been, it's been done before in many ways. It is about time that we had, you know, things that are not where, being gay isn't just an adjunct.
yeah,
Not that one feels one's sexuality should need to be either a thing or a not thing, but kind of. I
yeah.
can
Well,
say incoherent sentences, but given how normal it is for everything to focus around everyone having heterosexual relationships, actually something where it's not doing that. It's like, you may wish to cut this from the end bit or not. It's like that people who take issues with school books, are like they're promoting gay relationships. Like, do we think that all of the other books are promoting heterosexual relationships, or are they
yeah.
just being a book? So, is this just about time that we recognised more fully just that the world is full of marvelous complexity, but also maybe it would be nice if we did things a little bit differently sometimes, just generally, because repetition gets dull, regardless of stuff. I just wave my arms in the air like
Yeah,
a lunatic.
no, I agree with you. I agree with you. But and this reminds me of there was a time there was a I can't remember what it was called, but there was a series of I think it was a series of horror movies, and the whole idea was they were made by women, and they made a big fact of the fact that all these horror movies were made by women. And I remember Sean reviewing them and saying that he didn't think that they were anything special. And I thought, well, we've and my takeaway from that was, well, we've had men be making mediocre stuff for years, so a woman making mediocre, yeah, a woman making mediocre stuff is that's progress. It doesn't have to be great, but as long as a woman is getting a chance to make something mediocre,
Yeah,
and I
it
think
just
that
has to
so
exist.
yeah.
The
So the
existence
fact that
of
we have the
itself.
fact that we have something that focuses on gay men that is mediocre, I guess that's progress. So
Yeah, I think it really is, and we probably need to be more comfortable with not expecting everybody who's not a straight white man to be perfect, and that
oh, to do something good.
everybody, yeah, and that everybody is just allowed to fit in the same bell curve of excellence to mediocrity to Neil Breen. And I'm afraid that is now just set in stone. It's the scale from Neil Breen to awesome. And
Okay,
you
all
are
right,
going
cool.
to have to watch Fateful Findings. Next time you're in London, if necessary, you may just have to come to London to watch it with me.
All right,
Yeah.
fine.
Because
Okay,
I'm a
so
good
okay,
friend.
okay, so Holly, two things. First of all, I'll do this one so I don't forget it. Last week we spoke about deep water, and this is a PSA. This is a mea culpa to say we spoke about deep water, and even though we spoke about deep water, we spoke about deep blue sea, and even though I spoke about Rennie Harlin, and I went through and I made a list, I reeled off a list of films that he had previously directed that I had enjoyed. I totally missed the fact that he also directed Deep Blue Sea. So
Which
Rennie Harlin
explains the
directed Deep Blue.
backward swimming sharks, except the reason they were able to swim backwards in deep blue sea was the genetic engineering, so he let himself down there because he had specifically highlighted the oddity in deep blue sea and did not in deep water. Just putting
Okay,
it.
I'm saying these are two films, both directed by Rennie Harlin, both starting with the word deep, both featuring sharks. I'm saying that they're in the same universe. I'm saying that one of the sharks from Deep Blue Sea escaped and came and ate all the people in. Which
Yeah.
is why
They're
Holly,
not
Holly, oh no,
local.
no, no, it works, and that is why you said that the sharks are not recognizable as any other shark because it's one of the engineered sharks from Deep Blue Sea.
Not a Mako. It's not a Mako. Doesn't look like a Mako, and it's not like the sharks from Deep Blue Sea 2 and 3, which are genetically engineered bull sharks. And yes, I know about this stuff, and yes, I need to get a better hobby. But
Well, no,
nonetheless,
Deep Blue Sea 2 and 3 are not canon. They're not canon.
Deep Blue Sea 2 and 3 are terrible.
Although,
films. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I have to wave my arms. So bad.
Although now I have a feeling, right? I have a feeling that there were discussions about calling Deepwater Deep Blue Sea 4.
Oh no.
Okay. Okay. Now this is a theory. This is a theory that
Now,
I'm getting more and more convinced.
But I think it would have been a very bad choice because it would have made no sense. Locations wouldn't line up and things. It would fit with the.
But Deep Blue Sea 2 and 3. Deep Blue Sea 2 and 3 had nothing to do with the first one, so it's.
Well, they sort of, kind of, loosely, maybe not exactly do.
Exactly, which is why putting a plane in it and then shoving somebody out of it would have made as much sense. So
Yeah, fair. I mean, it does have a very Deep Blue Sea moment in it. At least one very Deep Blue Sea moment, which I will WhatsApp you about separately.
Okay, now I'm really beginning to think that this is what they wanted to do. Deep Blue Sea 4 back with the original director, but at the last section they realized no, this is stupid. Which is why they got such a good cast. Which is why
that would make sense.
This is beginning to make a lot of sense. Okay.
Was amazing.
Deep Blue Sea is an amazing film. It's an amazing film.
It is worth watching. Anybody who has not watched it, let's go and watch it immediately.
If you, I'm pretty sure it's on one of the streaming platforms. Deep Blue Sea is amazing. It's a great film. All right, cool. Anyway, so now we're gonna go on. We're going to say quickly, Odyssey. What did you think?
So, Cinema Buddy was very bored. But also agreed with me that it was beautifully shot. It was well cast. It was very well acted. I loved the use of light. I thought that was really, really effective. Colour, the light in particular, though, how things moved around was really good. I thought it did a good job of much of the pathos. It was trying to make Odysseus, though, a modern hero, or the conception of a modern hero, rather than an Homeric hero.
Yeah, someone who actually thinks about his actions and thinks about what have I done.
Yeah, and it missed out key things like in the Iliad, Odysseus pretends to be mad to try to get out of having to go to Troy. It wasn't, he wasn't just a strong hero striving to do the right thing. He was somebody who kind of tried to get out of it by being tricksy. And that's the story of Odysseus is a combination of trickiness and hungry. Yeah. And so it made him into a much more accessible character. For a modern audience.
I do think that he is still quite reluctant, but he knows he has no choice.
Yes, rather than doing everything he can to dodge it, which is more like the reality. I thought Anne Hathaway was superb as Penelope. She really captured the character beautifully. I have completely forgotten the name of Robert Pattinson's character, but I thought he captured that very well. Antiochus or something like that. Yeah, he did a very, very good job of it. He managed the balance of sort of menace, ineptitude, and all of these things combined very neatly. Tom Holland did a decent job. I don't think that I didn't take issue with him saying mum and dad, because I didn't take issue with anything else not being in classical Greek, so I'm not going to. It jarred slightly because I thought father would have worked better, but it wasn't like, oh my word, the world is going to end because somebody said dad. Because if it were, then we'd have a lot more problems. So I thought it was really well done. I also thought it was interesting that and spoiler alert, sort of, they omit at the end of the, which would be at the end point of the film, the massacre of the slave girls, which is good if you're targeting the sensibilities of a modern audience, but in the original epic, Odysseus massacres all of Penelope's slave girls, who had all been basically raped by the suitors, and had no agency. So yeah, he and Telemachus go and kill them all because, why would you not do that? Because they haven't been brutalised nearly enough. So it toned down some of the horror and the violence and made it more palatable for a modern audience. But then I think that is the case of every modern adaptation. It did a good job at the time movements as well. I appreciate I'm therefore being non-linear myself, but the original epic is non-linear, heavily non-linear. So it got that too. So I think it did a very good job of achieving what I think he'd set out to do. And I thought
I think it was a very good adaptation, because I've heard a lot about the bits that were left out, and to me, I'm like, yeah, leave that out. I don't.
They're not nice. The things that were left out, if you're trying to create something that is good for a modern audience, then the things that were left out were generally no bad thing.
Well,
If you're doing a
you
realization of just how flawed and awful a human being can be, then it was a miss. But
well, the thing is, I think essentially it's the whole it goes back to the whole Dune thing for me, where I always maintain that Dune should have been a TV series, not a movie.
Yeah.
There's too much in the book to put into a film, and you have to decide what bits you're going to cut out. And I think that they did a very, very good job of what bits to adapt and what bits to not. But have you heard Emily Wilson's review of
I have not, but I love Emily Wilson, and I'm listening to / reading her adaptation, her translation.
her translation?
At the moment, and I will be moving on to.
Holly,
I already own the translation of the Odyssey and the Iliad, so I'm very much looking forward to reading it.
You need to go find her review of the Odyssey. You need to go find her review of the Odyssey. Let's just say she didn't like it. It's like Stephen King levels of hating Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining. Like,
I've heard that said, but I am still, and we've had this conversation before, I am still with Stephen King. I don't think that Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining was very good.
Okay. All right.
I think it was a poor adaptation of what's actually quite a complex book, and it was fine, but it missed so much of the really important nuance. And more than one thing can be true, because I can appreciate that it's a really good film. It's just not a really good film when you look at the context. And I think that's all right, because not everything has to look at all of the context.
Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant film.
I saw a wonderful Instagram video by, I completely cannot remember which historian or it was, but saying that if you wanted to do, this is off the back of Elon Musk saying that he is going to produce an AI historically accurate version of the Iliad, of the Odyssey.
Piss off, Elon.
We can all really, really look forward to this, because if he's doing that, it is 15 hours of an ancient Grecian bard reciting melodious ancient Grecian poetry. That is what an historically accurate retelling of the Odyssey is, and I don't think that's what he's got in mind. Not least of which,
I don't think so either.
It takes 15 hours. There is a wonderful guy whose details I cannot even vaguely begin to remember, who sings, and I think singing is not quite the right word, bits of the Odyssey on Instagram, as in the style of a and bard isn't the right word, but an ancient Grecian bard in the way that the Odyssey would have been performed, and it's really actually beautiful. I don't say really actually beautiful, I say that's a surprise. Of course it's beautiful. The reason it has traversed time is because it's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop you there, Holly. We need to knock this on the head.
You mean I can't just talk
Right, we need to knock this on
about
the
my thoughts about classical Greek adaptations? Toes, you're just letting me down. It's not all about me.
No, you can't. You can do just. You can do, but I got things to do. I got things to do. If you want, I can leave it recorded and just walk off.
Like childcare is important or something. I don't know.
Although I'll say one thing. I'll say one thing. I think by the end of this year, you know how they have this whole thing talking about how Samuel L. Jackson is like what at one point was the most profitable actor in the history of the world because all his films, even if he was in there for 5 minutes, at blah blah blah. I think Tom Holland, Zendaya, and John Bernthal by the end of this year are going to because they are.
They're in everything.
Yeah,
there
because
is a
they are.
stunning meme of John Bernthal with Spiderman versus Odysseus, where it's a sketch of a face with the beard on top, or the beard on the bottom, or the beard on the top. It's like, yes, this is correct.
Yeah. So I think that, but anyway, until next week, when I don't know what's coming into the cinemas to try and fight against Spider-Man and the Odyssey. They're all just gonna get stomped, like like Ithacans under the feet of like a cyclops. They're just gonna get stomped if
There will be all the
if they go to
stomping.
cinemas. Yes, but until that time, when we should have probably Sean and Sharon back, it's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us.